Ever feel like uh, uh, when it comes to support, you're kind of being squeezed into a box that doesn't quite fit?
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, what if instead of, you know, trying to adapt to the support you're given, you could actually design the whole thing from the ground up?
Hmm. Interesting.
Well, that's kind of the big idea behind self-direction. And today we're going to dive deep, specifically how this works for people with developmental disabilities.
Sounds good.
We're pulling from pasted text for this one, because it's a pretty good overview.
All right.
So this whole idea, right, it's about having like the actual power to choose the services you need, like the people who support you, even how your budget is spent.
It's a pretty radical shift.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Instead of, trying to fit yourself into some system that already exists.
You're building it around you.
Exactly. Self-direction recognizes that, hey, everyone is different. You're the expert on what you need.
Exactly. It hands you the tools to build a life that actually reflects who you are.
So can you give us an example? Like, how does this actually play out in real life? What's the difference it makes?
Okay. Think of someone, maybe they live to paint, right? But the support they're getting now is just focused on the basics.
Just getting through the day.
Right. But with self-direction, they could actually use their funds to like hire an art teacher or maybe even join a studio, really
Oh.
nurture that passion. And that's just one tiny example. When you have that choice, that control,
It can be life-changing.
absolutely, it can lead to a much richer life.
Okay, so I got to ask, how does this actually work in practice? Like, what are the nuts and bolts of self-direction?
It starts with a plan. You got to have that roadmap, right?
Okay.
It's about identifying those supports, the things that are absolutely crucial for you to live as independently as possible.
So the things that make you, you.
Exactly. Participating in stuff you enjoy, being a part of your community.
You mentioned earlier that self-direction is like part of this bigger movement when it comes to services for people with developmental disabilities.
It is.
Can you expand on that a bit? Like, what's the context here?
Yeah, for sure. So self-direction fits into this whole framework that's all about person-centered care.
Person-centered. I like that.
Right. It's not one size fits all. Now, to be eligible, usually you need to be getting services from an organization like the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities or OPWDD,
OPWDD, got it.
and enrolled in something called the Home and Community-Based Services Waiver, the HCBS waiver.
So for those of us who aren't familiar with those programs, can you
Yeah.
break down what they are and why they're important for self-direction?
Okay, so OPWDD is a state agency. They provide services and support to folks with developmental disabilities here in New York.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
the HCBS waiver is a Medicaid program, and this one allows people to get services right in their communities instead of having to, be in an institution.
So it's all about keeping people in their communities connected.
That's a big part of it, yeah. And it's through these programs that the funding for self-direction actually becomes possible.
That makes a lot of sense. So once you're eligible, you've got your plan.
Yeah.
What are the key things that make self-direction so unique?
Okay, I can sum it up in 3 words. Flexibility, personalized staffing, and
That's true.
control.
Love those words.
You have the flexibility to design your own schedule. You can pick the services you want, decide who provides those services. It's powerful.
It's like you're the architect of your own life. You're making the big decisions.
Exactly. And that brings up an important question, right? Who helps you navigate all this?
Right, because it sounds like there's a lot to manage.
There is.
You mentioned a circle of support earlier.
Yes.
Can you tell us who's in this circle and how they work together?
It's like your team, everyone dedicated to your success.
Okay,
You got family, friends, a care manager who connects you with resources,
that's great.
and very importantly, a support broker.
Now, this support broker, they sound pretty interesting. What's their role?
The support broker is like your guide, your partner. They're with you throughout this whole self-direction journey.
Wow, that's a big job.
It is. They help you understand your budget, find the right services, the right staff, make sure everything runs smoothly.
It's like having a personal assistant for your support system.
In a way, yeah. And they can even connect you with other community resources and advocate for your needs if you run into any snags.
Now, managing a budget, finding services, that can be a bit overwhelming.
I understand.
Are there resources like tools or something to help people with all of that?
Absolutely. There are tons of workshops, online resources, even peer support groups, all dedicated to helping you learn the ropes.
That's great.
And your support broker is also trained to walk you through all that.
So you're not alone.
Not at all.
Let's talk about some real-world examples, get a sense of how this plays out.
Sure.
Those examples in pasted text, really caught my eye.
Me too.
The first one, there's this adult who used their self-directed budget to hire, get this, a game development and coding instructor,
I love that one.
turned a passion into a potential career.
Right. And then the second one, a family used their budget to get an autism service dog for their child.
Life-changing for that family.
Totally. And it just shows you how adaptable self-direction is. It's not about fitting into a mold.
It's about finding the right solution for each person.
It really is. Shifting the focus from one size fits all to recognizing that everyone has unique needs and dreams.
So if we had to sum it all up, what's the core message of self-direction?
For me, self-direction is about giving the power back to the individual,
I like that.
empowering folks with developmental disabilities to live richer, more meaningful lives that are on their own terms.
It's a beautiful concept. It makes you wonder, what if this kind of approach, this level of personalization, was the norm everywhere?
Wow.
Not just for support services, but like healthcare,
And
education.
even just in our daily routines.
It's mind-blowing to think about the possibilities.
What if we all had more control over the systems that are supposed to be there for us?
It's a question worth pondering.
It really is.